Thanks, Kevin. Okay, just before we get started and I introduce our speakers for tonight, you need to know we're live streaming this on Facebook. So if you want to share that out to others and say, sorry you couldn't be here, you can still have a chance to have access to this, that's fantastic. Or if you get bored looking up here and you want to look at your phone instead, same experience, better audio. So you've got choices there. There are no two better speakers than the two you're going to hear tonight on this topic. And the questions that they are going to talk about tonight and how it's been structured aren't just from an academic exercise saying, yeah, you should do this, that'll help you. This is from our lived experience collectively as a company and from years of experience. Tonight we've got Rob Dale here. He's our lead coach from Ottawa. He leads our coaching practice here. And this is a guy who has spent many, many years helping people find clarity, helping people find focus, trying to figure out, how do I take that dream I had when I started this business and actually get the reality of that, because it seemed to go somewhere else. He's incredible at it, he's passionate about it, and you're going to love to hear what he's got to say. The second speaker that we've got tonight is my business partner, co-leader of Rhapsody Strategies, Eric Deschamps. Eric, of course, won Rookie Coach of the Year.
Of course.
And the next year he was Coach of the Year. He's incredible at what he does. It's fantastic. And his commitment to coaching is probably only surpassed by his commitment to his clients. And tonight these two guys are going to share what they have learned both through our lived experiences collectively and those that we've gleaned from others and shared those experiences as well. So give them a warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Deschamps, Rob Dale.
Can one evening radically alter your trajectory? More specifically, can this one talk that you're about to hear over the next hour or so radically transform your life and business? Because let's be honest, how many of us have attended seminars and training events ad nauseum and received tons of ideas and inspiration in the moment, only to realize later on that the bottom line impact of all of that training and all of that encouragement was lackluster at best? And there's a reason for that. Most of us go to the events just like this one, and we're looking for answers, aren't we? There are gaps in our knowledge. There are gaps in our experience. We know we don't have it all together, and we're looking for other people in those areas to tell us what to do. Like most business leaders, we're haunted by all kinds of questions.
We look for questions or asking questions around marketing, trying to figure out what can I do in order to be able to stand out from the crowd, from all of the noise, all of the stuff that's going on, or how can I market my business more effectively and get more customers?
There's all the questions are the answers that we're looking for around people problems in our business. And if you have staff, you're well acquainted with them. Questions like, how do I find the right people? And when I find them, if I find them, how the hell do I keep them? Right? There's I'm good at what I do, but no one's ever trained me to be a leader. How do I manage this team now and get the best out of them?
And then, of course, there are the money questions. Now, I know none of you here tonight ever worry about money issues, but there are some businesses that do.
Yeah, I've read about those.
A couple of them. They're wondering about how do they price their products and services to be competitive within the market. They're wondering how they can increase their profits in order to be able to make more money, or even really the one that is the bane of most businesses' existence. It's how do I better manage cash flow?
Yeah. That's a tough one. There are all the answers then that we're looking for as entrepreneurs and business leaders around quality of life. Right? Have you asked any of these questions? How do I build my business effectively without sacrificing my family? You asked that one? You know, how can I build the kind of life I've always dreamed of and not lose my soul in the process? How do I keep my sanity as an entrepreneur? Now, let's be honest. Most of you have already done that, lost it. But there are people out there still trying to keep it. There's so many ups and downs as an entrepreneur. It's such a roller coaster ride. How do you cope with all the pressure?
Of course, there's also, we're desperate for the answers to the what the hell was I thinking question. Right? The idea of, what was I smoking when I came up with that idea?
Exactly.
Trying to come up with the idea of what will people think if they saw the real me behind all of the smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
or even the idea of, again, what the hell was I thinking? Owning my own business, that I was going to actually have freedom as a result of this, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, all kinds of these questions, and probably one of the more important ones is, how the hell do I stop the merry-go-round?
And get off.
And get off.
Exactly. The list of answers that we're looking for as business leaders and entrepreneurs goes on and on and on. The list is a really, really long one. And as I said earlier, we're hungry for knowledge to fill the gaps in our training, in our experience, so that we can be better leaders. We have yet to meet in the thousands of conversations, and I literally mean thousands of conversations that we've had with business leaders and entrepreneurs, we have yet to meet one of them that would say, I don't believe deep down that I'm meant for more. But how do I get to the more, especially in those areas where I'm challenged? And so we look for answers. We say, please show me what I need to do in this area of my business. But here's the problem with answers. They may inform us, but they don't transform us.
If we focus on the right questions, if we really understand the type of questions that we need to ask, the right answers will become clear. And that's what we want to talk about tonight. Most of us here, we know that true wisdom is demonstrated by isn't demonstrated by having all of the right answers. It's again asking the right questions. In today's world, accomplished leaders understand that knowledge itself doesn't equal power.
That's right.
Just having all kinds of knowledge is not the same as having all the power. Maybe there was a time in history when that was true. But today, it's about knowledge and having as much knowledge, but also the action, taking action on it, which is where we find the power. If that's true indeed, then if we fail to take action on so much of what we learn, it's because we are not asking the right questions. In most cases, failure can be traced in failing not to know, but failing to act on what we're doing. And failing to act can often be traced to knowing the answer versus owning the answer.
Yeah.
You only own what you discover. That's a powerful thought. You only own what you discover, either as an original thought or as a unique application in your particular situation.
Let's face it, how many here like to be told what to do? Any takers? Don't you love the family member that you have as an entrepreneur who's never been in business for themselves, and yet they believe that they have all the answers you need to run a successful business? Right?
You have any family members like that?
Yeah,
No,
come on,
no.
right? The weird Uncle Bill, right, who thinks he can tell you how to run a successful... No human being likes to be told what to do, but we all love discovery and epiphany. We all love those moments in time when the penny drops and something becomes clear that was not clear before, and finally we get it. Am I right? We love those moments. And those are the moments where we own the solution. We own, maybe it was triggered by somebody else's thinking. Maybe someone said something that they're doing in their life and business, but we didn't just take it and replicate it. Something dropped in our thinking, a penny dropped, and we were able to see how that uniquely applies to our situation and how we might do something brand new, and now we own it. Think of a time when you were young and for the first time you got your first job and earned your first little bit of money, and you started to save for that really important thing that you wanted. Maybe it was a new stereo or a new bike or a new set of skis. And when you saved and you scrounged and you worked and you finally were able to go out and buy that pair of skis or that stereo or that bike. Do you remember that moment? How many have a moment like that? You can actually remember that first thing that you bought. Up until this point in your life, everything's been provided for you, true?
Yeah.
You've not had to work, you've not had to scrounge, it's just assumed that mom and dad are going to take care of me. And all of a sudden now, you've got to put out the effort to get it yourself. Do you remember how much you treasured that thing that you bought? And you treated it with a level of respect and honor and that you didn't do anything else?
Do that again?
Is that good?
That was good.
Is that good? Is that
was
what,
impressive,
I think that's what it actually sounds like. It's an epiphany. It actually sounds like that.
Okay.
But do you remember that feeling of, I own this, this is mine, I work to get there?
Yeah.
It's the same with answers and questions. When you ask the right questions of yourself and your business and discover the answer that will lead you forward, as opposed to are told, you truly and deeply own it, and no one can move you from it. Face it, you are the best expert at your own life and business. No one else knows you like you know you. No one else knows your business like you know your business. When we work with our clients, we tell them this: listen, you are the best expert in your business. We are not that. We are coming alongside of you. We will learn about you. We will learn about your business. But no matter how hard we try, we can't get into your head. We mess with it a little bit, but we can't get fully in there. You are the best.
In some cases, we don't want to get in there.
In some cases, we want to avoid that altogether. But we can't get in there. You are the best expert at your life and business.
Yeah.
And without asking the right questions, the most that you can hope for as a business owner is to replicate somebody else's thinking. When you begin to ask powerful questions and really wrestle with them, now you can truly begin to influence your industry and begin to innovate. Come up with something fresh, something new. This is going to be hard news for some of you, but deep down you already know it's true. Most of your industries have become a commodity. There's a million of you that do exactly what you do. And it's not what you do anymore that matters, it's how you do it. And you're only going to figure out a powerful how by asking the right questions.
Yeah, let me give you an example of this. Doug Dietz, who I'm sure everyone in this room knows. Doug Dietz was an engineer who worked on and designed MRI machines, and putting them into hospitals and all of this. And he would go around and he would kind of inspect and see how the machines were doing and make sure that everything was functioning right. And he went into one of the hospitals to inspect one of the machines that he had basically designed and put together. And to his horror, as he was there, he watched a 7-year-old little girl who was having to have an MRI done, and she was absolutely freaking out. She was emotional and just distraught and terrified of this frightening machine. I mean, some of you that have MRIs, you know how scary those machines can be. And so they had to sedate her. And so he asked the hospital, the nurses, he said, how often does this happen? How often do these children need to be sedated? And he discovered that at that time, about 80% of children had to be sedated before they could have an MRI done. This destroyed him. And Doug Dietz went back to his school and he began to ask the right questions. But he didn't ask those questions of the people in his industry who were used to doing things the same old way.
Right.
He went to some kindergarten teachers, and he went to some early child care workers, and he asked them, what could I do differently in these MRI units in order to put at ease these children? And so they began to suggest, and they came up with, and they answered and helped him shape and change the industry around MRI units. They began to paint the walls of these units like pirate ships and fun air balloons and all kinds of things. And the kids would be told, you're going to be taking this trip in this pirate ship. And as they began to transform these, they were able to reduce those rates of children that were being sedated from 80% down to 10%. And in fact, at one time when he was at one of the hospitals, and as he was watching a child excitingly go into one of the MRI units, as the child came out, he overheard her saying to her mom, hey, Mommy, can we come back tomorrow? Asking the right questions will bring you to a place where you can innovate in your industry.
Many of you are familiar not with the runner on the screen, but with the prosthetic that she's wearing, which is the FlexFoot Cheetah. And it was invented by a man by the name of Van Phillips, who was an athlete in his own right, who after a terrible accident one day woke up the next day to find a void where his leg used to be. And back in the day, the prosthetics were not very advanced, and so he was fitted with one, and it was incredibly painful, incredibly clumsy, and found that he could barely walk across a crack in the floor and not trip because these prosthetics were just so bad. So he began, of course, this journey of learning how to walk again on a prosthetic, but with this haunting question, missing the athletic world and wanting to get back into it, and he was asking himself this question. If they can put a man on the moon, why can't they build a better foot?
Great question.
And he began this journey of again, getting informed, learning about all the industry. And again, the industry itself was stuck. They had a model. They were sticking with it. They were not deviating. He transformed the industry. This prosthetic now is known around the world and enables people not just to walk normally again, but athletes to perform in a phenomenal way. Some even say he designed a better foot than the human foot. This thing is incredible. Another story is a fantastic one about childhood curiosity. And this is a little girl driving in the car with her dad. And this is back in the days before intermittent wipers. Wipers only had one speed, right? And so in heavy rain, as you can imagine, it got hard to see what was going on. And so the little girl turned to her dad, and she said, "Dad, what if the windshield could blink?" To which it started a thought in his mind, her dad, to start thinking, why can't a wiper work just like my eyelids, blinking as much as is necessary or as little? And he went on to invent the intermittent windshield wiper. Another fantastic illustration, the last one, again, a little girl's curiosity. Here, the story of Edwin Land in 1943, whose 3-year-old daughter was getting frustrated because he was taking pictures, and she would always ask him, "Why do we have to wait to see the picture?" And it set him on a journey to answer the question, what if we figured out a way to make a dark room inside of a camera? And he went on to invent the Polaroid. Every major breakthrough in any industry or field, medical, financial, technology, has all come as the result of someone asking a different question.
It's interesting that so many of these inventions and this technology and the advancement of it, they begin as questions from children. Do you notice that? And I'm not here to criticize our school systems or anything. Okay, I am going to criticize our school system to a degree. Here's one of the challenges that we have done within society today. From a very early age, we train our children to have answers, not questions.
That's right.
In fact, most of the time we ask questions, and as they grow and as they go, some of I've got, my kids are older now. They I'm lucky when they just talk to me, let alone ask questions. But when your kids are, young and they're like, "Daddy, why is the sky blue?" And, "Well, why is that?" And, "Why is it?" Right? Don't you love those? Right? No, we get, even as parents sometimes, we get to a point where we get frustrated and we discourage and we teach children to stop asking so many questions.
Right.
We, in our school systems, again, we want them to provide answers, and we don't want them to deviate from the correct answer. There's only one answer, and you got to answer it this way, right? And it's interesting that so many of these inventions and so much of the advancement is when we allow our curiosity to just flow, to ask so many questions. And many of us, as we get into adulthood, we get to a point where we stop asking the questions because we constantly want to have just the answers. But it's the questions that bring transformation.
Yeah.
It's in the questions that we will find the heart of what true transformation is. They come from that genuine curiosity and that interest, that unique and deep interest in what makes us and our organizations tick.
Yeah.
We need to be willing to ask those questions. In fact, we need to become skilled question askers rather than answer givers. How many of you would like to learn how to be a better question asker than an answer giver? Powerful questions unlock new possibilities and opportunities. They challenge our beliefs at times, and they require a thoughtful response. They're not easy to do, and you can't answer them quickly. You need to take the time to think through them. And they often force us to look at ourselves with fresh eyes. Sometimes that's a scary thing to do. They help us to think deeply about the issues that we face. There is a better way. No matter how long you have been providing the same product or service, asking the right questions can unleash new ways of offering that to your clientele in a way that will amaze them and help you to stand out from those around you.
But here's the issue for most of our organizations. We work with companies of all sizes and all kinds of industries, and we see this played out time and time again. Our organizations have not been set up to really think. As a matter of fact, in most cases, they can't think. One of my favorite TED Talks is by a lady by the name of Margaret Heffernan. And she tells the story of Alice Stewart, a really interesting lady from the 1950s at Oxford. She was interesting for all kinds of reasons. First of all, she was a successful female doctor, which in the 1950s wasn't all that popular. Secondly, she continued to work after she had kids, and she was really, really smart, and she was sort of breaking all of the trends. And she was also very interesting because she was involved in a brand new field of study, which was studying the patterns of diseases to understand where they come from and how they can be prevented. Now, she knew that if she was going to make her mark, she had to pick a field of study that would, where there was a big need. So she chose childhood cancer.
Wow.
Now, in that day, and to this day, it remains true that most diseases, there's a huge correlation between poverty and the spread of disease. Isn't that true? Yet in her case, as she began to research childhood cancer, she realized that the percentage of children coming from affluent families, that there were more of them getting childhood cancer than those coming from poor families, which didn't make any sense at all. And so she began to research this and spent years doing it, only to discover that what was causing it is that the affluent families who could afford medical care, pregnant women were getting x-rayed. And the x-rays were causing the cancer. Now, her findings, she published them very quickly. She thought it would be welcome news. We can stop, and lower this rate of death in infants and small kids. But it wasn't well received at all. It flew in the face of, first of all, this sexy new technology at the time called x-rays. It flew in the face of the medical establishment. No one wanted to listen to her. They all thought she was crazy. You'd think that a finding like this would have been embraced. It took her a full 25 years.
Wow.
Before the American and British medical societies looked at her findings and accepted the fact we've got to change our ways, and they stopped x-raying pregnant women. Now, during that time, how many think that Alice Stewart had an uphill battle? You better believe it. Everywhere she went, people told her she was crazy. So she developed a really interesting model to make sure that her thinking was solid. She hired a guy who worked with her, whose name was George. He worked in statistics. Where Alice is, the story is told, she was gregarious and outgoing and life of the party. George was not that. He would be much happier spending the evening alone at home with a spreadsheet than talking to a human being. But this was his job. His job was to disprove her findings. He spent every moment of every day at work trying to prove his partner, Alice, wrong. And she calls this, Margaret Heffernan refers to this as a brilliant way of collaborative thinking, because in most cases, we don't have true thinking partners in our businesses. We have echo chambers. People that just echo to us the same BS we're telling ourselves, people that will tell us what we want to hear, because in most organizations, you start asking hard questions, you are asking for trouble. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
But what the story tells us is that if we're really going to break away from the everyday, building an ordinary business that doesn't stand out and doesn't do anything special, if we're going to break away from that and begin to do something really different and really powerful, we're going to have to develop those thinking partners who are going to challenge the way that we think and ask us hard questions and hold our feet to the fire so that the genius that is inside of us can be released upon the world. Does that make sense? Right? Powerful, powerful story. We call these types of conversations at Rhapsody, we call them dangerous conversations. They're not dangerous to the individuals involved because we don't believe in brutal honesty. We believe that is just a methodology or a philosophy that's wrong on so many levels, because at the end of the day, although it's honest, it's still brutal.
Yeah.
How many have been the recipient of brutal honesty?
Yeah.
Right? And although you heard some of what was being said, most of it was lost on you because of the way it was delivered. Isn't that true? We talk about gentle honesty at Rhapsody. Patrick Lencioni, one of my favorite business authors, calls it the kind truth.
Yeah.
But we engage in dangerous conversations on a regular basis, dangerous not to the people, but dangerous to mediocrity, dangerous to status quo, dangerous to doing things the same old way you've always done them. These are conversations that propel us forward and help us to see things in a brand new light.
So tonight we're going to walk you through 4 powerful questions that you can ask yourself and your business. But before we do that, we need to ask you one other question, and it really is the all-important question. It's the vision question. Do you know where you're going as a business owner? Do you have a clear picture of what the end game is? Have you really sat down and said, this is where I'm heading, this is where my business is headed? A lack of clarity when it comes to vision will lead to all kinds of wrong decisions. It will lead to needless detours and distractions and wasted time and energy and money and all of these things if you're not clear on the vision and where you want to go.
I've got to tell a story. I tell a great story
Yeah.
on vision and losing your way and not having a clear sense of direction. So if you've heard this before, humor me, but it's a great story. The story says there's a man in a hot air balloon, and he's completely lost. He realizes he's lost his frame of reference, doesn't know where he is, so he reduces the altitude of the balloon. He starts looking around for someone on the ground that might point him the right way, and he spots this woman in a field, and so he lowers the balloon even lower, and he leans over the basket of the balloon. He says, "Hey, hi, over here." He says, "I'm lost. I have no idea where I am. I was supposed to meet my friend like an hour ago, but I've got no clue where to go." She goes, "I know where you are." She goes, "You're in a hot air balloon, hovering about 30 feet above the ground. You're between 40 and 41 degrees north latitude and about 59, 60 degrees west longitude." To which he responds, he goes, "You must be an engineer." And she goes, "That's amazing. I am." "Well, how did you know that?" He goes, "Well, everything you've told me is technically correct, but I've got no idea what to make of your information. And the fact is, I'm still lost. Frankly, you've been really of very little help to me at all. If anything, all you've done is delayed my trip further." She looks up at him and says, "Oh, well, you must be in management." And he replies, "Actually, I am. But how did you know that?" She says, "Well, you don't know where you are or where you're going. You've risen to where you are largely due to a large amount of hot air. You made a promise which you've got no idea how to keep, and you expect people beneath you to solve all your problems. Fact is, you're in exactly the same position as when I first met you, but now somehow it's my fault."
Yeah.
Love that story.
No, don't applaud that.
No, that'll just go to my head now.
No, that's just going to encourage him to tell more bad jokes, and he will be here all week.
Can I do
if
the
you
one
do that.
thing
No,
now?
you
Can I
can't
do
do
the
any
one-
other
can't do that?
jokes.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
all right.
not at this point.
Gonna rein it in.
Hey, listen, no one can set the vision and direction for your business.
That's right.
But you.
Yeah.
Only you can do it. Only you can decide on what that vision is and the direction is. In fact, it's your ultimate responsibility as the leader of your organization. You need to decide what that's going to be. Now, the reality is you may have written down that vision somewhere, and maybe it's just a dusty plaque on the wall now that, you know, at one point you had some balloons and pizza and celebrated as an organization, and now it's just kind of forgotten and it's sitting there. That's not the kind of vision we're talking about. Yeah. I see some of you, your eyes start to gloss over when we talk about vision because, you know, back in the 80s, it was really fun to talk about that, and everybody wrote these, you know, wonderful, grandiose vision statements and didn't do anything with them.
Yep.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about something that absolutely grabs you at your core. Yeah. It's something that drives you and guides you and just stays with you in the midst of every decision you make, of every mountain that your business climbs and every valley that you're in. That vision absolutely consumes everything about you. Yeah. That's the kind of vision we're talking about tonight. If you don't have that kind of a vision that just won't die no matter what you face, no matter what you go through, then you need to have that as a leader. It's a vision that you don't need to be writing down and having out everywhere because it consumes you. It's in you. It's a part of who you are. The best way to tell the difference between a good idea and a true vision for your life and business is time. Is it survives the test of time? If it's the survival of the fittest, if you will. Yeah. What really matters will remain. It stays with you. In fact, you can't shake it no matter what.
Exactly. You know, it's actually interesting that tonight marks a 5-year anniversary, almost to the day, of when I decided to launch a business coaching company. I had gone away to the U.S., of all places, Canton, Ohio. What is in Canton, Ohio? Well, they do hold the NFL All-Star game there every year, so something of interest happens there. But other than that, nothing happens in Canton. And I went away for a week to get some training. This was going to be a brand new business to me. I had been coaching in one way or another for most of my life, but I'd never built a business around it. So I thought I better go learn from some people who understand this stuff. And I remember on my way home, the 13-hour drive, this question that just kept rolling around in my mind and in my spirit about what is it that I'm going to go home and build? What is it that I'm going to go home and do? And when I got back home to Ottawa, before I ever sat down to anyone to talk about this business or set up meetings to start trying to, land some clients and coach them, before I ever did that, I remember for a 2-day period, sat down at my dining room table at my old house, and I began to write this mission and this vision of what this organization would be about. I began to talk about what it would look like in 5 years and 10 years. I began to describe what it would feel like to work there. What are the values of the people what values would they embrace? I remember I wrote all this down because it was important for me to understand, what am I building? Where am I going with this? What's the why that just won't die behind this thing?
Yeah.
And I wrote that document, and I filed it away and then went to work. And I'm not, some people, they write their goals down and they check them regularly. They write their dreams down. I'm not that way. I'm just wired differently. There's nothing wrong with the form, but that's not how I work. This vision didn't need to be written down for me or revisited on a regular basis because it was in me now. It was my North Star guiding my decisions, guiding my actions, even in ways that I wasn't aware of most of the time. And it wasn't until I brought Rob on as my first member of my team, because I knew right from the beginning that I was not to come home. I wasn't coming back to Ottawa to build a solo coaching practice, which in the coaching industry, you may or may not know this, most coaches out there are just solopreneurs doing great work but just acting on their own. I wanted to see something different. I wanted to create something more powerful where the client would have access not to just one great mind, but to many great minds. And no matter how talented a single coach can be, no one can beat the power of the bench. No one can be as smart and talented as an entire team. And this is what I was envisioning. In also looking at an industry that has become so diluted where everybody and their dog uses the term coach. It's actually terrible. They read Chicken Soup for the Soul and they think they can help people. Coaching to me is an art form. It's something that you apply your whole life to so that you can help people get unstuck and get to where they want to go. And I had this vision of raising the standard in the industry among many others who would say, no, this is what coaching looks like. And it wasn't until Rob joined the team and then I was like, whoa, this is becoming real. I pulled out that document.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was happening. And I remember it was visceral for me. And I still tell the story, and the hairs on my arms just stand up on end. And I thought that was the plan. We're going to build this company called Breakthrough Coach. There's the vision. Here's the plan. And then something in 2014 happened. At this point in time, my business partner and I and a great friend, Trevor, we had been working together for a long time. He had built a marketing company called Social Catalyst. I had Breakthrough Coach going. We had actually, launched them about the same time. Both companies growing and doing some great things. And our businesses were so complementary that we were passing clients back and forth on a regular basis. We'd help an organization get a real sense of who they are and start getting some traction. We have yet to meet one company that doesn't have a problem on the marketing side. So there was always an opportunity to refer clients that way. And likewise, clients were coming to Trevor saying, fix my social media so you can save my company. And he would answer, I think you need a lot more help than that. You need to talk to these guys. So we were doing a lot of business together. We were friends. We had actually become mutual clients. They were doing our marketing work, and I was coaching his organization. So we were pretty tight. And one day the question was asked, the dangerous question, what if we did all of this together? Hadn't thought of that. And so we actually booked in our calendars a spot right in Google Calendar. It was called A Dangerous Conversation. We didn't know that language until that moment, and that language now has become part of the culture at Rhapsody. But it was a dangerous conversation. And we sat there at Zach's Diner right below our office there in the market, and for over 2 hours talked about why we should do this. And on many fronts, it made so much sense. I mean, we had many of the same clients. We shared the same values, used many of the same providers, right? Our companies were so complementary. It made so much sense from a business perspective that we had to consider it. But I can tell you, if you've built a business, and many of you have, walking away from something you've birthed and given life to and put lots of blood, sweat, and tears into, not an easy thing, am I right? So both of us are saying, we need more than this just makes sense. So we started asking the question, why would this organization exist? And I remember the moment we were talking about different things and considering different things. And for us, it wasn't about trying to wordsmith some kind of clever mission statement. Honestly, in the conversation, both of us to this day feel like it just really arrived. In that moment, we're talking, and it arrived, to build the most sophisticated leaders who changed the face of business. And our response was not, we're going to build the most sophisticated. No, it wasn't that at all.
No.
Actually, it was more like,
Damn.
because the follow-up question that came immediately was, what in the world do we need to become if we're going to lead other people there? And that started a journey. 30 days later, Rhapsody was born. And in just about a month or so, Rhapsody will celebrate its 2-year anniversary. Yeah, it's already.
Yeah. And along those lines, as Eric shares that story, you can hear the plan changed.
Radically.
Yeah. The plan changed. And in your case, maybe the plans have changed over the course of the time of your business. The vision doesn't.
That's right.
The vision is something that is absolutely, it finds a way to stay alive no matter what.
It's like that river, right? That is powerful river that is surging with water and overflowing its banks, and you try to stop it.
Yeah.
You ever try to stop a rushing river? It just finds another way. It'll just go around that barrier and carve a new path. And that's where vision, when you have a real vision that has become this internal guide, this North Star that is guiding your decisions and guiding your actions, it doesn't matter if your goals go sideways and your plans fall apart and things don't turn out the way you'd hoped. Your vision will find a way forward and it will come to pass if you stay true to it.
Yeah, so take out your phone if you don't have it out yet or you've been writing some notes. I hope you can see your notes in here, but on your phone. We're going to be over the course of the time getting you to write some stuff down, but I want you to write down this question. I want to make sure that you put this one down. If you've never asked yourself, I think it's one of the most powerful questions that you can ask yourself in your business, and it's this. What if you ran your business more like a cause than a company? What if you were to run?
You need to say that again.
What if you were to run your business more like a cause than a company? How would that look like? How would that feel for you?
Yeah. How would your people feel?
Would it just give you that shake? And how would your people feel? How would it change your people? What would it mean for the team and who you would have on that team? How would it change things for them? How would you do things differently if you saw your business more like a cause than a company? See, many of you here tonight, you're already fueled by that kind of a vision. You're moving towards something amazing. You're inspired and you're motivated and you want to take courageous risks and you're all in on all of that and you understand it and you're sitting there going, I could tell you my story and it would be a powerful story and it would resonate the same way that the story that Eric has shared, it would resonate. And that's great. But the question then to consider is, does your vision, is it still make sense today?
Yeah.
Is it still true in that sense today? Or what's next? Is it got to be tweaked a little bit? Is there some things that need to be evolved when it comes to your vision? How does your business need to change in order to keep moving forward? What if you saw your business as a cause instead of just a company? It would be absolutely powerful. But the realization is that some of you haven't discovered that why.
Yeah.
And a lot of the frustration, and as we dive into these 4 questions, and in the next, we've got about 20 minutes, we're going to dive into those. But in the course of that time, before we dive into those, you've got to first stop and answer that why question, or else this stuff doesn't really take you very far down the road. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, the questions we're going to provide you are questions you can ask at any time in your life and business and help you find a way forward. But if they're not asked in the context of a clear sense of direction and vision and purpose, the best they're going to lead to is just a few tactical tweaks in your organization. They will not lead to transformation.
Yeah.
True transformation comes when you have an inner compass that is pointing in one direction, making it easy to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And when you ask these questions that we're going to arm you with, then all of a sudden you're going to a whole other level. But this is, of all the questions you're going to consider tonight, and will consider throughout your entire life, is why am I here and what's my organization all about? Why do we exist?
Yeah. So we felt strong that we needed to share that with you, that we needed to encourage you with that, to be able to do exactly that. You see, what oftentimes happens is that people walk away from their vision. They walk away from it because they haven't really owned it, as we've talked about. Right. They haven't taken it to that level. So here's what we want you to do just real quickly, if you have the opportunity.
Just before we do that. I felt strongly, we both did, when we were preparing this talk tonight, that we would be talking to an audience, some of you that have your vision set out and you've got that compass and off you go, and it's a question of evolving it and staying in tune with it, because if it's a true dream, it'll keep getting bigger all the time.
Yeah.
And you'll always be chasing it to become a bigger person so that you can fit the dream. That's the way that it works. It's always pulling you forward. And some of you are already there, and man, we just want to throw, blow some wind into your sails, say keep going. There's that second group where you're still not sure. You listen to this kind of thing and you've heard stories like this before and you go, I'm not sure if I've got that yet. But you're trying to discover, you're leaning into it. But there's a third group that I know is here tonight. And those are the ones that you've had your why beaten out of you by the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey. If the statistics are right, and I know they are, and I know that 77% of them are made up on the spot.
Did you just make that up?
I just made that up. There is a significant percentage of people in this room that are right now considering throwing in the towel. You may have even come to this event and said, I hope I get something out of this because I don't know how long I can keep going. The entrepreneurial journey is not for the faint of heart.
No.
It is extremely fulfilling and exciting, but the ups and downs can really knock the dream out of us. Earlier, Rob referred to the vision as really the survival of the fittest. What over time in your business has remained strong, has remained clear. That's what you're about. Those are clues to your genius because they won't go away. It's not just a good idea that next week you've forgotten and you're on to something else. This is the stuff that has stood the test of time. It's the survival of the fittest. Listen, if you're here tonight and you're considering throwing in the towel, I encourage you, forget about survival of the fittest. Maybe it's time for a revival of the artist in your life. A revival of that creative person who kicked this whole thing off in the first place and had the courage to do what most people will never do, which is move away from the safety of the job and create jobs for other people and build something special that will last and make a difference in people's lives. You need to go back to that moment and recapture that joy and that creativity and that enthusiasm. Maybe your plan sucked. But don't walk away on the dream. It's not the vision that you walk away from. You need to be honest. If it hasn't worked the way you'd hoped, maybe it's time for a new strategy, a new plan. Listen, plans come and go. Stick to your dream.
Yeah.
You just felt really strongly. Some of you needed to hear that tonight.
Yeah, and we hope you're encouraged by that. Yeah. Don't lose hope. Stay focused on that. Okay, so now pull out those phones on your papers and we're going to give you just 2 minutes to do this. Some of you, this will fly out of your mind and you're going to write it down. It's so important sometimes to write these things down. Yeah. Right now, if you have it, if you can come up with that, if it kind of comes out of you, and don't overthink this, and we'll say this a number of times.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah, just
top of mind.
Just
why
let
are
it
you here?
flow
Why
out.
do you exist?
Why do you do what you do? What is your vision? What is it that what burns within you? Why did you start into the business that you're in? And just take a minute or two and just jot that down. Okay, go. Just write that down. Just get those thoughts out on your smartphone, on your paper. We'll just give you a quick time to do that. And if you're struggling even writing anything down, that's okay. Again, there's hope tonight. Yeah. We're walking that through, but that is something, even as we get into these other questions, take this stuff and own it and listen and learn from it and begin to ask other questions, but don't walk away and say, well, I'm not going to worry about that one. It's what you want to go back to at some point, very soon. What is that vision statement? Some of you are writing furiously, and that's great.
Awesome.
There's 30 more seconds, or even just quickly just jot down those things. So let's shift gears now. We talk about vision, and you'll hear us mention it at different times over the course of these last 15, 20 minutes. But let's turn our focus to those 4 powerful questions that can really help you at any time in your life and in your business, no matter when it is. Asking these questions can make all of the difference. Here's the very first question you need to ask. What is my business trying to tell me? If your business was sitting in a chair beside you and it was whispering in your ear, or in some of cases, your business might be sitting beside you yelling in your ear, right? Whatever it might be doing. What is it trying to tell you right now? What is it that your business is trying to say? Focusing on what matters most right now is often the biggest challenge that leaders face. How many of you struggle with how much that you have to do in the business and the amount of time that you have to do it, and you're always kind of just trying to figure out how do you have the time to do what's important and what matters, and you're consumed, and so you just kind of fall prey to just putting out fires and running around and chasing down whatever is the most current issue and need, and you're not working on your business because you're so busy working in the business, as the cliche says and goes, right? It's just this whole emphasis, and it becomes this vicious cycle, and you feel like the hamster on the treadmill just kind of just going over and over again, because you haven't taken the time to review your business, to ask what happened, to ask what is the business trying to say to me. And as a result, you end up repeating the same old mistakes over and over again. I believe there's a
definition for that. Definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting
different
results every time. It's crazy.
And yet we do it
every day.
Every day. Not only do you fail to learn from the costly mistakes, but you fail to learn from the victories and the successes, and we don't pause to just even enjoy all of the upswings in our business and to say, hey, what happened to make that work? How did we get successful there? What did we do right? Instead of even just asking what did we do wrong, it was sometimes we have to ask, what did we do right? We don't even take the time to do that. And so we have a victory, and the next day we come into the office and go, okay, back into the rat race, back into doing it. And we're going right back after it again, over and over again. And as a result, we fail to realize, to catch the things that lead us to victories, to allow us to see the success so that we can repeat it consistently and to do that. Listen, your business is trying to tell you something. It is absolutely trying to tell you something. Are you listening? Are you taking the time to listen? Asking, what is my business trying to tell me, can help you avoid this.
So here's how we're going to make this real for you. I want you right now, again, you've got a notepad or you've got your smartphone out. I want you to think of your business right now and think of what major goal or accomplishment in recent times have you won. What major goal have you accomplished, or what's a major win that's taken place in your business in recent times? How many can think of something top of mind? I'm talking about something where you really nailed it. Not like Pinterest nailed it. I nailed it. You know, have you seen? Yeah, anyway. Not Pinterest that really nailed it. You got it right. This was a success. It could be the landing of a new contract, the launch of a new product or service, the addition of a new high-performing member to your team. Whatever the case may be, I want you to identify a major win in your business from recent times, okay? Once you've identified that big win, I want you to think and reflect on these questions and write out, make some notes, what comes top of mind. And again, don't overthink this. Typically, what floats to the top of your psyche, right, that immediately pops into your brain or into your spirit when we say these things, that's what is the truth.
Yeah.
We're often thinking too hard about this stuff and trying to overanalyze it. You already know what you need to do. The major issue we see with business leaders and owners, and I mean, we have coaches for the very same reason. Our entire team, every member of our team have a coach. Trevor and I have a coach. Why? Because we fall prey to the same thing you just talked about, just like every other business leader.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, that big win in mind, I want you to ask yourself and write down what comes to mind when I ask these questions. What happened? What got you there? Why was that a success? What did you do that made it that way? What did you do differently from what you normally do? And what is your business trying to tell you about this big win? Now ask yourself the following. Did you use the experience to capitalize on what you did right? Right? Did you create systems from it so you can reproduce it? Even more importantly, can you apply this same thinking and this same effort and methodology that got you this big win to another area in your business where you're currently stuck? Can you transfer that knowledge and that energy to another part of your business? Here's a great one. Are you still driving the activities that got you that big win? We ask this question all the time. We're, say, tell me about a time in your business where you were really successful. And they start to, this, we did that, and man, we were getting more clients than we could handle, and it was fantastic, and it was great. We were most profitable. Like, well, what did you do that year that was different? Oh, we did this, and we did this, and we did this. Oh, when's the last time you did that? It's funny how we lose sight of even the things that we're doing well. What could you do to bring more of that into the present?
You're writing it down, you're getting some of those thoughts down. Now here's another thing you need to write down. Think about a major setback or challenge.
This one's usually easier.
It's amazing how you all of a sudden your mind is flooded with, this, right?
Yeah.
Which is a shame when you think about it. To not focus on those wins as much as we do focus on the setbacks and the challenges. But I want you to think of one. Think of a big one if there is a big one, and just something. Maybe it's just a major goal that you still haven't accomplished, or some kind of a setback that you've had recently. Just pick one, whatever comes to mind. And again, now here's where what Trevor said at the very beginning. It was so good what he said at the very opening of the night tonight. And if you remember way back then,
It's been a long time.
was the notion of how we ask these questions, and we ask the wrong questions. So oftentimes when we see the setbacks, the negatives, the challenges, we ask the wrong questions. We ask things like, can I even do this? When you think of maybe a goal you haven't accomplished, it's too big for me, I can't accomplish it, or what did I do wrong, or why would I have done it that way, and how could I have been so stupid? And we ask these questions that tear down. That don't accomplish anything. There's no life in those questions. Let me suggest to you that rather than asking those self-defeating questions, here's some better ones. You can ask yourself, again, what happened? Again, this whole idea of what's my business trying to tell me with this setback? What can I learn from it? How can I take this experience and what can I do differently in order to make it work? How can I think outside the box? Maybe I need to go talk to some children's workers, or I need to go talk to these people and say, how can we build a different MRI machine? Exactly. How can we do these things in order to get me back on track and get my focus back? What could I do in order to change this outcome in the future? So I want you just to take a second and just write some of those questions, or even if you've already, something came to mind, you said, I could do this, write that down. If you don't write it down now, by the time you walk out the doors, you'll have forgotten it. And so take that minute to just do that.
At Rhapsody, we say the importance of capturing information or sharing it with someone else is that as long as the information or the thought is still in your mind, until it passes through the lips or the fingertips, it lacks clarity. The very act of writing it down brings a level of clarity that you cannot get by just dwelling on it in your mind. Does that make sense? You must get clear in order to write it down or to communicate with someone. That's why we're encouraging you to do that right now.
Yeah. So write those down. Everything you need to succeed is within you.
Yeah.
We believe that. We believe that so strongly. We believe that in each and every one of you are the things that you need to succeed. It's taking the time to process those major events in your life and business, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? It's taking the time to do that. It will crystallize the lessons and the principles that will help propel you into new areas and new heights and achieve new things. And so to not reflect on those things, to forget to take the time to ask, what is my business saying to me? On a regular basis will doom you to the cycle of business insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. So take the time to do that.
Let me give you the second question that can be really useful to ask on a regular basis, and that's what's missing. Notice that doesn't say what's wrong.
Yeah.
Because what's wrong and what's missing is a very, very different question. This question is, what's currently missing in my life and business that if it were added, it would make a significant improvement in my life or my business or both? What's missing? And typically some clues about what's missing are those things that you've known you should do for a long time, and you've been talking about doing them, but you've never done them. Actions you need to take, things you need to do. But let us give you a few ideas about some things that might be missing that you might want to start plugging some of those holes. For us, we're big believers in that African proverb that you go far when you're together. There is no such thing as a self-made successful person. They have a whole network of people around them that have helped them get there. So ask yourself this question: who needs to be at my table? That's not there right now.
Yeah.
Now that might mean, for those of you that have staff and are hiring, might mean an additional team member, but I'm not talking just staffing here. I'm talking about who are the influencers, who are the mentors, who are the people who understand what you're going through that you've looked to and said, I really want to get to know this person because I admire them and I could learn a lot from them. Who needs to be at your table?
Yeah, the second question that we can ask that falls under this whole notion of what's missing is, what knowledge do I need to gain?
Yeah.
What are the books that I need to read? What are the conferences and the seminars that I need to attend? Like Rhapsody Strategies.
That's a given.
What are the things that I need to discover? What knowledge do I need to gain in order to be able to take my business to that next level? How can I use that knowledge to increase the capacity of my business?
Absolutely. And finally, what strategies do I need to embrace? Remember, the question here is what's missing? What are strategies that are currently missing in your business that, if added, would make the biggest improvement possible? Let me suggest some types of strategies you might consider. The first are called create or /innovate strategies. What's missing in your business that needs to be created? What area of your business do you need to innovate in and begin to offer that product or service that is very common to most, but you're going to begin to offer it in a way that is unique, that adds more value to clients, that makes you easier to do business with, right? That makes you stand out from the crowd. Do you have some create/innovate strategies that you need to add to the mix? Others are add or multiply strategies. Every business owner needs to make a decision about how fast they're going to grow because, listen, quick growth isn't always a blessing. It's ruined more businesses than you can count, where they've grown too quickly and can't handle the growth and they just basically explode, right? So an add strategy would be, we're going to move and we're going to grow slow and steady. We're going to add, then we're going to add a little more, then we're going to add a little more. Is there an add strategy that needs to be added to your mix? Is it currently missing? Or is it time to 10x the whole thing? Is it time to multiply? Is it time to go for it? I talk to business leaders and owners, and I'm a big fan of systems and laying the foundation, but sometimes, man, I'm like, okay, you're in year 20. Foundation's there. Come on now, stop playing year one. You've not been in business 20 years, you've just done year one 20 times. Is it time for you to consider taking a risk beyond anything you've ever considered? Because the business is actually ready for it. Is that what's missing in your business? And finally, is it a right strategy or is it a left strategy? I'm a big fan of both and thinking. Jim Collins, one of my favorite business authors, talks about successful leaders know how to embrace the genius of the both and as opposed to the tyranny of the either or. Love that. It's so true. As soon as you say either or, you eliminate all kinds of possibilities. Both and is possible. But sometimes you got to make a decision. We're going this way. And if we go right, that means we can't go left anymore. Is that what's missing in your business? Right? You're trying to do too many things and go in too many different directions. What strategy is possibly missing in your business?
Yeah, so what is your business trying to say to you? Excuse me. What is your business trying to say to you? What's missing? We're going to give you the next two. We're going to do them real quickly here.
Yep.
We're going to go through a bunch of quick
Rein
questions.
me in, Rob.
Want
Rein
you
me
just
in,
to
'cause I'm
write
gonna
them
talk
down.
all
Yeah,
night.
I
You need to
know,
rein me
exactly.
in.
We're going to get you going here. All right, so here's the third question that you need to be asking yourself. What needs to go?
Oh. No one likes this one.
What needs to go? How many of you know the law of displacement? You know what the law of displacement says? It says that if you want to add something, you need to remove something. That if you want to fill the bucket with more stuff, some things have to be taken out.
Yep.
And so if you want to go in a certain direction, if you want to do a certain thing, there are some things that are going to have to be left behind. Great book that I read recently. In fact, we did a business epic on it, and some of you maybe were at that, was a book called The Pumpkin Patch. And Mike Michalowicz, who wrote The Pumpkin Patch, he talked about in there is that way too many businesses are just like the pumpkins in a pumpkin patch. You can't tell them apart. They all look the same. You stand at the edge of a pumpkin patch and you just look out and you just say, yeah, it's a bunch of pumpkins. Whoop-de-doo. If you want to build an award-winning, you ever see those pictures where, the farmer who wins the award and he has a pumpkin that's like the size of a truck or something like that? These giant award-winning pumpkins. If you want to have a business that is an award-winning giant business, you need to build that business the same way that a farmer does that instead of building a pumpkin patch. And how does he do that? He weeds out all of the other pumpkins. He gets rid of everything that's sucking the nutrients, that's taking all of the energy and the resources away from the big pumpkin. What's the big pumpkin that you're trying to build for your business? And get rid of all of the other things that are sucking your energy, your time, your resources, all of those things. Here's a bunch of questions. Just write these down because I'm going to just rapid fire give them to you so that you can get them. But I want you to catch some of these questions. What clients need to go? Hardest thing it is. So many times when I talk to, when I'm in coaching, right?
I don't think they heard you.
I think they said, what clients do you need to add?
Right, because typically when you say what clients need to go, there's at least a few in the audience that go, there's a bunch I'd like to fire.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right? How many here have clients you'd like to get rid of?
We don't. We love all of our clients.
All our clients we love.
But some of you.
They're all here.
I know, exactly. I know. I'm trying to save you here, right? Okay. But what clients need to go? The reality is that there are certain clients that are costing you more time and money than they're worth.
Yep.
And you can't focus on the clients you want because you're too busy focusing on the clients that demand so much from you. Get rid of them. Weed them out of the garden so that you have the time, energy, and resources to build the kind of business that you want to build. What products and services need to go?
Yep.
Stop trying to do everything. We talk oftentimes, what's our motto at Rhapsody about going
deeper instead of wider.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we go. So what are you going deep on, and what do you need to stop going wide on? Yeah. Focus in on what are the products and services that need to go. What strategies need to go. Remember, again, what got you here won't get you there. What strategies need to go. What team members need to go.
You did not.
I did.
You did.
We said it. Who do you need to maybe fire? And if they're sitting beside you, just act all normal and don't really.
You might want to write a little more discreetly.
Yeah, don't you don't write their name in bold letters.
Or Mike and Faye are looking at each other.
Yeah.
They're business partners.
If you've been really struggling to tell them, write their name in bold and let them just see it. Whichever works for you, but what team members need to go. Again, remember, people come into our lives for a reason and for a season.
That's right.
And there are some times where you're not doing them any favors by keeping them on. Let them go. Let them discover their why so that you can build yours. And then here's the last one. It goes along again with what Trevor said at the beginning. What questions do you need to stop asking? What questions do you need to stop asking? In other words, what questions are you asking right now that are tearing you down that you need to stop asking? So, what needs to go? Last one.
So time check. It's 9 o'clock. We have one more question we want to walk you through, and then we're going to wrap things up. How many will give us about 10 more minutes? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. We're good. All right. We can stay here till tomorrow morning.
You can't see them. You don't know how many people raise their hands.
I can see the hands on this side. Over here, it's just like a big dark void.
They all raise their hands on this side.
It's like the black hole over here. The light's too bright. I can't see any of you.
You just called them all a black
hole. Let's finish up.
Okay.
Last question. What's next? Powerful question. This is, in my mind, as important as the vision question, although all the questions are important. What's next keeps you from getting stuck in the paralysis of analysis, where you're just going to overthink, and maybe we should do this, and maybe we should do that. Listen, at some point, you got to make a decision, and you have to act. Now, hopefully, you're going to take that action based on some homework, and you're not just making a bunch of guesses in your business. That's a bad way to run a business. Right? But listen, there are times where you won't have all the information and you need to act. You need to decide what's next. What am I going to do next? Now, this is where I come back to the importance, though, of having this direction and this overall vision guiding you. If you're just asking what's next and you don't have a vision guiding you, you're just going to become a better firefighter.
Which isn't bad if you're a firefighter.
If you're a firefighter, that's okay, right? But how many are tired of just fighting fires in your business, going from one crisis to another? If you don't have a big overall guiding vision, just asking what's next on its own, you're just going to jump from this tactic to that problem to this issue. I need to solve this. Tomorrow I need to solve that. And then next week, perhaps I have time to address this. And all of a sudden what you end up building is a schizophrenic business. It has no sense of itself, and it's multiple personalities. And listen, I had a lot of compassion for people who struggle from that, so I'm not playing that down. But listen, I know a lot of employees that come to work every day, and they're like looking at the boss going, which direction are we going in today?
Yeah. Which boss am I going to get
Which
today?
boss am I dealing with today? Yeah. I mean, it's true. Because you're tactical, you're operating as a tactical leader, but not a strategic one. So when I'm saying consider the question and ask yourself the question, what's next? Think strategically. Not just tomorrow, we're going to mow the lawn in front of the shop and we're going to plant a few flowers. It's going to look great. Okay? That's a great tactic, not very strategic. Unless that fits into your strategic plan and is part of getting you more clients. You know, move from tactical to strategic. Are you getting the gist of what I'm saying? Move to higher level issues. One of the major leading problems are reasons why business leaders are not achieving their full potential. There's two of them. One, they don't stop long enough and often enough to think deeply about what they're doing. And this is not something I read in a book. This is thousands of conversations now.
Yeah.
We are not stopping often enough to think deeply about what we're doing. So we just keep doing the same old thing. Two, I forgot number two. Do you remember what number two is?
I don't know where you're going.
What was I saying right before that?
Tactical, yes.
Oh, crap. All right, anyway.
You're off the notes, so you're just going.
I'm I'm off-roading right now and having a hard time finding the trail. Anyway, there was a point to that. What's next helps you focus on the important things you need to do. Here's the other issue.
All right.
Thank you. Just came back to me.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You're so helpful.
I know.
We're not thinking deeply enough about what we're doing, okay?
Again?
And we're stuck in the minutia of the business.
Yeah.
So your best thinking, your best energy, your best everything is getting eaten up and devoured by the details.
Stuck in the weeds.
Stuck in the weeds. Right? What's next? I want you to think strategically now. And what comes to mind when I say, where do you go from here?
Yeah.
What will you do next? Don't worry about the 5-year plan. I'm not a big fan of those. Life changes too quickly. I do believe in a 12-month strat, but even that can change. What are you going to do next? What's the next step that you're going to take to get to that goal or that dream that you're embracing?
I like to ask it this way. What's the one thing? I can't believe I set you up for that. He's going to go into City Slickers in a minute.
Come on, Jack Palance, right?
Go ahead, do
With
it.
Billy Crystal.
What's the
one thing?
What's the
you
one?
need to figure out the one thing.
What's the
right?
one thing?
Thank you for that.
What's the? I can't believe I gave you that. What's the one thing that if you solve that, if you answer that, will have the greatest impact in your business right now?
Yeah.
And answer that question, and then once you've answered it and you've done it, what's the one thing that will solve whatever issue, do whatever needs to be done, and make the greatest impact in your business?
Yeah.
That's the way you should approach that.
Yeah.
So, we talk about next steps. We talk about what's next. And we've got some ideas on our own about next steps that you can take. And before we close, and we are, I promise you, closing now, you've got a couple of former preachers here, and so we often like to have 4 closes, but we're going to...
Yeah, when we say we're about to close, that means we're beginning to circle the airport somewhat, and we're probably going to do that 4 or 5 times.
No, we're not.
No,
we're on it. We're going to bring this to... we're going to land this thing right now.
We're going to land the plane very soon.
We're going to land the plane, I promise
okay.
you, yeah. All right, we've given you all kinds of questions. I hope some of those questions have helped you build a better life and a better business. I really do trust that you've benefited from it. But again, here's the issue. As Erica said, we talk to thousands and thousands of people, business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, you name it. We've talked about with all of these individuals individuals, and the number one problem that we have found, and the main reason why they are not reaching their full potential is this. Moving at the speed of light, going with all of what they're doing in the facets of the business, they don't take the time necessary to think deeply about what they're doing and ask themselves the questions, better questions on a regular basis.
Yeah.
They're stuck in the doing.
Yeah.
And many of you here tonight can relate to that. You're stuck in the doing. And a big part of what we do as coaches is we help leaders like you carve out the time and the space necessary in order so that you can focus in on the right questions that will help you transform your life and your business. And so we want to there's a number of tools that we offer and we do that we help to do, that are basically designed to help business leaders take a real honest look at their organizations. One of the ones that I'm so proud of is our Rhapsody business assessment tool. It was created in-house, took a lot of time. We had, Eric built that out. We had all kinds of the team being part of these questions, and we really created this 180 statements that you can ask yourself and rate yourself, and then 21 open-ended questions where you can really get to the heart of what your business is about and what you do. And what we've been doing, and if you've been to any of our events, you know that this is a tool that we have been offering. Tonight is the last time that we are going to be offering this tool as a free resource to anybody that's in attendance at one of our events. Yep. And so if you haven't done it, you can take out your phone right now, send an email to info@rhapsodystrategies.com. In the subject line, just write the word questions. You don't have to do anything else in that email. If you send that out to us tonight, we will make sure in the next 24 hours you'll be given a link so that you can fill out that RBA. Many of you have already done it, or a number of you have already done it, and you know the power of what that tool is. And then we will set up, even with one of our coaches, a free consultation, 45 minutes, where they will go over those results with you and help you to ask the better questions, to figure out what are the questions you need to ask. And so we want to make that available for you. The other thing that we're really excited about, and we made the decision to do, is we have done these a couple of these in the past, is we love the power groups and the power group format, where we bring together a number of business owners and leaders, and together they work on the most powerful questions. They discover the areas of their business, and they learn from one another. And we are going to be launching an exclusive, and we mean this, an exclusive power group that we are going to be inviting you to join tonight. In fact, we're going to do this. It's a special part of tonight's event. We're offering it. It's even a special price. It's $395 a month for 8 months, where you and somewhere between 8 and 10 business leaders will come together each month and dive in with one of our coaches facilitating those meetings to discover exactly what you need to do to get to where you want to go, learning from one another. I think they're absolutely powerful experiences to do. Again, we're going to invite you to send an email. The same email address, subject line for this is the word together. And in the body of that, we would love for you to just say what's kind of the one thing, if you were to pull out of all of the stuff that you learned tonight, what's the one thing that you could take that you really said, this is my big takeaway from tonight, and to put that in there. Now, listen to me. Just because you send us an email doesn't guarantee you a spot in this power group. We will then go through those emails. We'll go through the people that have sent in asking to be part of that power group. We will then contact you, have a chat with you, and out of that, we will find those 8 to 10 business owners and leaders, organizations that we are going to bring together, and we want to do this in a real strategic way to make sure that you get full benefit and value out of those. And they're an absolutely powerful experience. There's a number of you in this room that have gone through some of our power groups in the past, and you know how tremendous that can be and how helpful it can be. And so we're going to be doing that. So I encourage you to do one of those two things.
Can one night transform your life and business? Can this event tonight alter your trajectory in a significant way? That's where we started, isn't it? Hopefully you've gained some clarity around some issues in your life and business that you can begin to take action on. More importantly, we hope that you've been encouraged to lean into your why, to your vision, to your true purpose with a greater sense of focus and even greater intensity. Finally, it's our hope, above all else, that you will pursue a life of deep curiosity and openness, because that's where the magic is. That's where things really begin to happen, where you move from focusing on being a great answer giver to mastering the art of asking powerful questions. Because it's from that place that you can move from best practices to next practices, where you can move from replicating to innovating, becoming a sophisticated leader who changes the face of business.
Yeah.
There is so much genius in this room, and so much genius in every single one of you. Start asking better questions, and amazing stories will result. Thank you.
Thank you.